Hey everybody, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Once again, that website address is theclinicaltrialsguru.com. You should see it right here on the bottom of the screen. It's where we discuss clinical trials in plain English. We try to demystify clinical trials every single day. We realize that it's important. We bring you good and bad perspectives of clinical trials because we realize that it can't just be one or the other. You know, it's a lot of gray area in this field that we're in, and there are other sites that do provide information on clinical trials. However, I haven't found one quite as authentic as ours, and I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but we featured people who have had bad experiences with clinical trials, and at the same time we work in the clinical trials industry, and we haven't seen that kind of authenticity yet from any other clinical trial websites that we've seen. If you have, please, bring it to my attention. But anyways, today, because people are still confused about this, I wanted to talk about the different phases of clinical trials. I'm going to take you through phase 1 all the way to phase 4, and I'm going to talk about what each phase consists of, what type of studies each phase does, what type of people tend to join which phases. Of course, there's always exceptions, but this is going to be in general. So let's start with phase 1. A phase 1 study is the first time that a drug or a new medical device or medical product, or what they call investigational product, is tested in human beings. So up until this point, they've done animal studies and they've done studies in the labs. Phase 1 is the first time the drug is introduced to humans in clinical trials, and they essentially try to determine if the drug is safe, what the side effects are in humans, what the maximum dose is before side effects start showing up. They don't really look at therapeutic benefits unless it's psychiatry or cancer. Those are the two exceptions where usually in phase 1 studies, healthy volunteers are the ones who join the studies. So if they're testing a drug for an arthritis study or an arthritis drug, they'll enroll healthy volunteers. They're not going to enroll people with arthritis. If they're testing a drug for hypertension, they're going to enroll healthy volunteers. They're not going to enroll people with hypertension. They just want to see what the side effects are and what limits of the dose the side effects begin to appear. The exceptions, again, psychiatry and cancer, where phase 1 studies are done on those people who have either psychiatry or cancer that they're looking for. So, for instance, if it's a schizophrenia drug, they will actually do the phase 1 studies on people with schizophrenia. And for cancer drugs, same thing. But those are the only two exceptions. For the most part, phase 1 studies are conducted on healthy volunteers. So, as you can imagine, there's no real benefit, once again, unless you have cancer or you have a psychiatric illness, there's no real benefit for a healthy volunteer to join a phase 1 study other than money, because there's no upside to it except getting paid. I mean, you can always say that you're giving back to society, which everyone who joins a clinical trial should be applauded for that. But when you get to the motivating factors of why people join phase 1 studies, it's money. There's no other benefit. So the type of people they usually recruit are healthy males or females, and sometimes they exclude one or the other. College students, people in need of money. These people, and I hate the term, but sometimes they refer to themselves as professional guinea piggers. And there's a lot of stuff on the internet about them. There's actually been some movies that came out, some documentaries about people who do phase 1 studies. So anyways, that's what the phase 1 clinical trials are all about. Now the phase 2, with the exception, once again, of cancer and psychiatry, phase 2 studies are then the first time the drug is being introduced. If it gets past the phase 1 study, it goes to phase 2. That's the first time the drug's being introduced to the people with that medical condition, whether it's hypertension, asthma, arthritis, fibromyalgia, whatever it may be. Phase 2 enrolls for the first time that population. And then it's a small study. They're looking once again at safety, because in the phase 1 study they determined the maximum dose. So now in phase 2, they're looking at whether anything below that dose is effective and safe on that population. And these studies are usually short. People still do them for the payment, but at this point, you see a lot of people who are looking for better treatments. They're hoping for better cures for their condition. So you don't really see you don't see people doing these studies just for money. It could be a combination of the two. Phase 3 is very similar to phase 2, except they're much longer and they enroll a lot more people. So let's say from the phase 2 study, that drug proved to be safe enough and effective enough in the short term. They're going to do a long-term phase 3 study, which may last anywhere from 8 months to 2 years, depending on the study. So now they enroll a lot more people. The inclusion is set to where they can now include a lot more people than we're able to in the phase 2. So for instance, in a phase 3 study, they may allow people 18 to 65 years old to join the study, whereas in phase 2, they may be only allowed 18 to 55. Furthermore, they allow people with different medical conditions to enter the study, as opposed to in phase 2, you have to be relatively healthy, except for the fact that you obviously have the medical condition that the drug was supposed to treat. So that's the phase 3. Once a drug gets to phase 3, a lot is understood about it. Doesn't mean it's safe, doesn't mean it's effective, but enough is understood about it to make the drug company think it's worthwhile to do a large phase 3 study. And these studies usually cost a lot of money because they enroll a lot of people, and the drug companies contract a lot of research clinics to conduct these studies. And then the phase 4 studies is usually post-marketing. Usually the FDA approved the drug, but the drug company, for whatever reason, wants to get more data on the drug. Maybe there's a particular side effect that they don't understand well enough, and they want to do a phase 4 study where, by the way, at this point the drug's already on the market, your doctor can prescribe it for you, but they want to do a phase 4 clinical trial where they're looking at certain conditions and certain side effects for that particular drug that they want to get more data on. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully the phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 are a little easier for you to understand. And the types of people that join these studies, you can see varies. From the phase 1, you got people, again with the exception of cancer and psychiatry. Phase 1, you've got only healthy volunteers. People's motivation to join these studies are just money. That's it. Phase 2, you've got people who are actually looking for better treatments and for cures, and they're more proactive in their healthcare. Phase 3, it's the same thing. People may have heard about a good phase 2 study, and now they feel more confident to enroll in a phase 3 study, so they join that one. And then the phase 4, post-marketing, pretty much anyone can join, and at this point, technically there's still clinical trials, but since the drug's on the market, it's not really experimental anymore. Hopefully this helps. It's Dan at theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Thanks a lot.